All right, welcome. So look, a bunch of you came to the live stream last night, and we had some terrible technical glitches. Something was wrong with the audio. My apologies for that. So what I wanted to do today was sit down and basically record what I originally intended to do for the live stream. This isn't going to be sort of a normal polished video. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to have my morning coffee, and we're going to talk about Sawmill tuning. Sound good? So if you're with me, great. One thing I want to mention too is that I have the Mastering Sawmill Tuning program. I'll put a link in the description. Originally, so it's on sale right now. Originally, that was supposed to end last night, but I've extended it until Sunday because we had all those technical issues, right? So if you're interested in that, go grab it there. If you're not, that's cool too. We're still going to learn a little bit about sawmill tuning today, right? Okay, so I recorded a video about sawmill tuning about 9 months ago, and it's been one of the most popular videos on the Banjo Skills channel, and that is fantastic. However, it's always bugged me a little bit, right? Because I was recording on an old iPhone, didn't even have a microphone. I was just using like the iPhone mic, so it doesn't sound and look all that great. I've always kind of wanted to update it. So I figured that this would be a great format to do it, sort of a live stream. Even though it's not a live stream anymore, we're going to do sort of a stream of consciousness talk about the basics of sawmill tuning. So I'll talk a little bit about the history, why it sounds the way it sounds. So just a little bit of theory there. We'll talk about some chords, and then we'll look at Cuckoo Bird. So first thing I'm going to do here is demo Cuckoo Bird for you, which is the song we're going to play tonight, and it'll give you an idea of that sawmill sound. See that nice kind of dark haunting sound? That is really what I love about sawmill tuning. So as far as the history goes, it's interesting. Like this kind of sound has been around for hundreds of years, for a long time. But as far as from what I can tell, the term sawmill, and it's also called mountain minor or mountain modal tuning, but the term sawmill seems to have originated in the early 20th century. It's like the early 1900s with this guy, Clarence Ashley. Clarence Ashley is an amazing banjo player. I highly recommend you check him out. In fact, the version of Cuckoo Bird I play is very, very similar to his. I mean, very, very much learned from him. It's as close to his as I could make it, honestly, because I think his version is just about perfect. So yeah, check out Clarence Ashley. Now, here's what I think is really interesting about sawmill tuning, right? It's got a feel we don't have in too many modern songs, right? It's got this kind of unresolved, tense feeling. It's a little spooky, maybe. It's a little haunting, dark. That's kind of how I think about it. It's kind of perfect for murder ballads. And the reason this is because it's sort of halfway in between using a major and a minor scale. So like almost all the songs we listen to, the vast majority modern songs are going to be a major or a minor scale. So major is going to kind of feel happier, a little more upbeat. So you can think of songs like You Are My Sunshine, Let It Be, Country Roads, Take Me Home, all those sort of more, happier, for lack of a better term. And it doesn't say the song has to be happy. In fact, You Are My Sunshine has pretty sad lyrics. And even sometimes they can have a sad feel when they mix in other chords and things like that. But generally the feel of a major scale, that do re mi is going to feel fairly upbeat. When you think of minor key songs, that would be things like Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana, Jolene by Dolly Parton, things like that. These are songs that are going to have a sadder, melancholy feel. Now, in sawmill tuning, we use this Dorian mode scale, right? Which, like I said, is kind of halfway in between a major and a minor scale. And that really kind of gives the song, like, we don't know, we're not major or minor, we're halfway in between. The brain kind of wants us to resolve to one or the other. We never really do. And so I feel like it has that tense, kind of unsettling vibe to it. And it's just because your brain is trying to get it to resolve somewhere and it never quite does. And the reason our brain's really trying to resolve it to major or minor is just because that's what we all, grew up. That's what we've heard our whole lives, is sort of songs in that major or minor scale. And if we think about, like, there are modern songs that use a Dorian mode scale, and they tend to be sort of more haunting, stranger songs. So think like Riders on the Storm by The Doors, Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd, Mad World by Tears for Fears. Like, these are all sort of, they have just a darker vibe to them, right? And that is because they're using this Dorian mode scale. Okay, so that's all we're really going to talk about the Dorian mode scale. If you are interested in learning more about that, like, check out the link below. I got the course. It's on sale. That's going to be the last time I mention it, but I did want to just mention, like, we really do dive deep there. It's about 5 hours of content just on sawmill tuning. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let's get tuned up. Grab your banjo if you haven't already, because we are going to be playing Cuckoo Bird today. So let's tune our banjos. If you are in standard open G tuning, all you need to do is take your second string, that B, and you're going to raise it half a step to a C. So this is very, very close to standard open G tuning. It's just that second string is tuned up a half step. So you're going to end up with G, D, G, C, D. Strum the strings. You don't quite have that nice G major chord you have with standard open G tuning. What we're actually playing here is a G suspended fourth chord, and you've just learned your first chord in sawmill tuning. We use this one quite heavily, actually. Now, remember when I said when we play in sawmill tuning, we're sort of halfway in between a major and a minor key? Same thing with this chord, right? This suspended fourth chord. So a G major chord would be G, B, D. Those are the notes in a G major chord. You can play the minor version of that chord, so sort of that sadder sounding, with G, B flat, D. So that middle note is down a half step. Well, for our G suspended fourth chord, what we've actually done is we've replaced that B with a C. So again, we kind of have that unsettling vibe. It wants to resolve to the major or minor chord because it's neither. Our ears are used to hearing the major or minor. And in fact, when this is used, like, you might hear this chord in songs in like a major key, but it's on the way to resolve to either the major or the minor chord. And here we don't do that. Okay? Makes sense. Next chord we make heavy use of is the D5 chord. So that's going to be your second finger, or your index finger, on the second fret of the third string, and your middle finger on the second fret of the second string. There you go. And actually, so same thing here as the G suspended fourth chord. This is actually a 5 chord, which is a power chord. So think like Smoke on the Water, Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Those kind of songs make heavy use. Think like electric guitar rock uses a lot of power chords in general. And again, where I said in that G suspended fourth, we change the middle note, here we leave it out altogether. So this chord is just the G, D. And again, I don't feel like it has quite that same amount of tension as the G suspended fourth, but we don't know whether it's major or minor. And that kind of adds the overall effect here. The last chord we'll talk about is the F chord. So when we play songs in the key of G, so our open G tuning, the vast majority of the time in old time music, the chords we're going to be using are G, C, and D. If you know the natural number system, those are the 1, 4, 5 chords. In sawmill tuning, in this Dorian mode scale, we replace that C chord with an F chord. And so that's going to be your middle finger on the third fret of the fourth string, your index finger on the second fret of the third string, and your ring finger on the first fret of the third fret of the first string. So just like this. Got it? Cool. Okay, so we've got our G suspended fourth, our D5, and our F. And that is just a regular F major chord. Yeah, I think I might actually be slightly out of tune here. So let me just check that. Nah, I'm all right. I guess it's just my playing. Okay. So yeah, get used to those chords, practice switching between them. Although, I will say in Sawmill, we tend to not play quite as many chords. Like it's not quite as strummy as some of the other tunings. We tend to play more melody notes, which again is why it's kind of helpful to know that G do re mode scale. Okay. We've got our 3 chords, right? Let's look at Cuckoo Bird. I'm just going to share the tab here. Okay. Link in the description for the tab. If you have grabbed the Cuckoo Bird tab from me before, I would go ahead and grab it again from the description because I've made some updates to it that I think are really nice. And I just noticed I'm actually on the old version here. Yeah, there's the new version. Cool. Okay. So again, I'm just going to play this A part real quick. Interesting thing here. So we use some fun, kind of slightly advanced techniques here. We use the Gaelic lick. We've got drop thumb in here. We've got pull-offs, and we've got alternate string pull-offs. The video I put out last Friday actually goes over a little bit of these, but we'll do the quick versions of these techniques as well. So that is sort of the solo part. I said A part. It's actually the solo part. This is kind of the way you'd play without vocal accompaniment, and then the other part of the tab would be what you sing over, and that just sounds like this. So pretty reasonably simple song. We have the same chord progression in both parts. We just embellish a little bit in that solo part, right? So let's start here. So we've got that Gaelic lick, right? This I feel like is a little bit of a confusing technique, but look, it sounds so good in the Clarence Ashley version. I really just enjoy playing it. Here, I think it's worth sort of learning. So the way this works, if you think about your regular bum diddy stroke, right? You're going 1, 2, and 3, 4, and so you're hammering in on the 1 and then coming back up on the end. The Gaelic lick changes this a little bit. And by the way, I'm calling it the Gaelic lick. If you watched the other video, I called it the Gaelic lick. Someone corrected me. Interestingly, I don't know if I'd ever heard Gaelics pronounced out loud before I did that video. So it's Gaelics. What you're going to do, so if you are kind of coming in and out, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the Gaelic lick forces you to keep your hand down for a full beat and then come up on the next downbeat. So it'd be 1 and 2 and right. So or 1 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then so you're back to it on the next downbeat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just like that, right? Makes sense. It's a little confusing. So what you're going to do, you're going to fret that first string at the 5th fret. You're going to strike the 4th string, the open 4th string. And as you do, you're still going to sink your thumb into that 5th string, but you're just going to let your index finger then rest on the next string. And then you're just going to pull it through. And after you hit the 5th or the 1st string, then you pluck up on the 5th. Now, here's what I think is tricky about it. That's sort of the basic maneuver, right? Those plucks need to be even. So the way I want you to think about this is you're dividing the beat into 4 parts. So that would be like a 16th note is what it's called. And you would count that as 1 E and 2. 1 E and 2. This is worth practicing with a metronome to make sure you're getting it even and steady. Once you kind of get the feel for it at a slow tempo, you can start to speed it up, and you don't have to count in your head. Eventually, you'll kind of be playing it too fast to really count that 1 E and in your head. But I kind of want you to think about making sure the notes are as even as you can get them. Right. Once you get the hang of that, it's going to sound great. Incidentally, and I do talk about this in the video, but I'll just mention it. You can start that Gaelic lick on any string. You can end it anywhere. But however many strings you're going to hit is how many parts you divide the beat into. So you can do 3 strings and that'd just be a triplet, like 1 and or your regular eighth notes, so just 1 and 2, just like that. All good. Here we're dividing it into 4. So we start out with that. And then 3rd string. I would say add a thumb pluck there. So this is the 4th beat of the 2nd measure. It's up to you. I didn't mark it in there. You do you. And then we just have a little drop thumb. And then we're back to our Gaelic lick. So we basically do that piece twice. One thing I'll mention too is that first measure there is an anacrusis measure. So it's a pickup measure. You start counting that first Gaelic lick takes place on beat 4. So you would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. Does that make sense? It's a pickup measure is another word for it. It's probably a little easier than anacrusis. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing anacrusis right, to be honest with you. But anyway, so we do that twice. And then we do that Gaelic lick again, twice. But now we're just going to shift our hand down. By the way, I should mention, like right here for the first part of this song up until measure 6, I've just got my index finger sort of rooted at that 3rd fret. Now in measure 6, I'm just going to slide down 1 fret, and we're going to go. Same maneuver there, you're just fretting the 2nd fret of the 3rd string instead of the 3rd. And now you're going to go into that F chord, and you can fret the full thing there. So it's 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And, easiest is when you slide down and you fret that 2nd fret, you can just go ahead and fret that whole chord right there. If you're not quite fast enough, that's okay. You've got a beat to get your middle finger down on the 3rd fret, and then a full beat to get the full chord fretted. So it's not too bad. And then finally, you're just going to keep fretting that chord in measure 7 here. And you're just going to do a little pull off with your middle finger on that 4th string. And now we've got an alternate string pull off here. So you're going to strike the 3rd string. As you strike the 3rd string, you're going to fret the 1st string. I use my index finger at the 2nd fret for that. You're just going to go 3 and 4 and. So 3, and now you're going to pull off with your index finger. And then strike again on the 4, 4. You don't have to do an alternate string pull off here, right? If that is uncomfortable for you, if you're still learning, that's okay. It's still going to sound good if you just skip that all together. So you can skip the end of the 3 beat and just do 3, 3, 4. That would sound like. And then we're into a little drop them again. And then we just repeat the whole thing. So yeah, let's look at maybe a couple ways to simplify this just slightly. If you want to skip the drop thumb, you can, and just skip over those beats altogether. So it'd be. There's maybe a little simpler version of the song, but I think it still sounds really nice, right? Nothing wrong with that. Cool. Okay. So practice that on your own and let me know if you have any questions. Let's just quickly go over the part that we sing over. So we're just holding that basic bum ditty on the G suspended 4th to start. And it's just a little drop thumb maneuver there. And now. F chord there. Which actually, now that I mention that, is yeah, we're doing an F chord up top, and here we do a D5 chord. I wonder which is normally used. Well, look, choose your adventure here, right? Whatever you think sounds good. So you could do. With the F chord. I gotta tell you, I very much prefer the F chord there. So I'm going to update this tab, and we're going to turn that into an F chord. So if you've downloaded the tab, if you're looking, if it doesn't match mine, that is why I have updated this. Yeah, I think that's going to be better. Okay, so look, that is going to do it. Like I said, if you want to dive more into Sawmill tuning, check the description for the link to the Master Sawmill Tuning Banjo program. Otherwise, I will see you soon. All right.